All right, joining us now, he's got like 9 jobs. The Ross Tucker Football Podcast, CBS, ESPN, NBC, Westwood One. Ross Tucker, football analyst and former NFL lineman, joining the show. Ross, how are you today, brother?
Good. One of my jobs used to be a fill-in for Dan, but I guess it's not anymore.
You know, if you could have got up the turnpike in 45 minutes, I just don't see that happening. But we want to get into something it's been the topic all week, and I'm sure on your football show on Sirius, you've been dealing with this almost exclusively. Perloff, can you give Ross the poll question today on the NFL roughing the passer rule?
Okay, should the NFL change the rule, just ask officials quietly to call it less, or leave it as is?
I like the second one there. And that's what I tweeted earlier this morning. I think that's what's going to happen. So do you guys remember the first 2 weeks of the preseason when they called the helmet rule about 1 million times? Everybody was freaking out. And I might even come on with Dan and said they'll dial it back once the season comes. They actually dialed it back that week. Now, they said they didn't change the rule, but that they were going to make sure they weren't including incidental contact of the helmet. And since then, it's barely been called at all. And so I think you'll see something similar in the sense that they've made their point now about the roughing the passer penalties. They're trying to protect those guys. They know how important they are to the business of the NFL. I mean, nobody wants to watch a Niners game for the rest of the year. I mean, nobody liked watching the Packers and Brett Hundley without Aaron Rodgers. So I get it. They're doing everything they can to try to keep quarterbacks as safe as possible for the business. But I think they'll tell the officials now, hey, unless it's clear that the guy's putting all his weight on or really trying to, Tony Siragusa him like he did to Rich Gannon that one year, don't call it.
We were talking earlier, Ross, that is it fair, though, that the Packers might have lost a game because of this rule, and then all of a sudden they're going to stop calling it? Like, is there any concern about competitive balance over the course of the 16-game season? It seems a little ridiculous.
Probably not. That's probably not fair, but I don't know. Is it fair that they instituted the rule because the Packers quarterback's the one that got hurt last year? I mean, if you want to do that, you could say, well, if Aaron Rodgers just threw the ball away faster and didn't get hurt against the Vikings, then they never would institute this rule in the first place. It is, by the way, unbelievably ironic, isn't it, that the Packers and Clay Matthews have been the one affected the most by this rule, and they really instituted it because their quarterback's the one that got hurt last year as a result of it. It's kind of crazy.
I hesitate to throw out the R word here, but is there any way replay helps sort of ease some of these concerns and make these calls a little more clear?
Well, I think that they should make everything reviewable, Seton. I've always said that. The only thing I would say, though, on like pass interference and roughing the passer, I don't think that they would actually overturn it unless it's really, really blatant that they did it wrong. And remember, both Clay Matthews hits, the NFL came out with a video. For the Redskins one, it was during the game. It said, yep, that's legit. That's a penalty. Don't come to us. Don't complain. That's a penalty. So if in both instances the NFL said it was correctly called, replay review wouldn't help anyway because they're saying it's the right call. I'm with you. I think everything should be reviewable. Look, the coaches only have 2 challenges anyway, so I don't really see what the big deal is. But when it comes to like a hold or this or pass interference, unless the video replay was unbelievably compelling, especially with judgment calls like that, they're not going to overturn it.
Ross Tucker of the aptly named Ross Tucker Podcast Network joining the Dan Patrick Show. If you were a starting offensive lineman down with the Tampa Bay Bucks, do players openly or behind the scenes lobby for a certain quarterback or not? And does that ever happen?
I think that the head coach might privately ask a couple of team leaders what they think. But this, to me, is a joke. I mean, they don't ask all the offensive linemen. The one thing offensive linemen can do is you could kind of make it known subtly with your quotes to the paper. Like, we all love Fitz. We're all behind him all the way. He's done an unbelievable job for us. Like, so without the coach asking you, every coach reads those clips. I mean, I've seen the coaches. they read what the players are saying about the team, about the upcoming opponent, because they want to make sure they're not giving anything away. So that would be your way to kind of make that clear. But they're not going to Jameis Winston. I mean, Fitzpatrick is the first quarterback ever to throw for over 400 yards 3 straight games. He had a good game. I mean, he had a couple picks. I'd say 1.5 of those were really his fault. But I don't know how you stop him from being in there. I mean, Chris Godwin had 2 drops and a fumble, and if any one of about 7 different things happened, they probably win that game. I can't imagine that they would put Jameis in. I will say this, though, guys. This is a very, very important game for Fitzpatrick against the Bears Sunday because they're coming off a loss. If he plays poorly here, then they go into their bye week, and then they probably do make the change. So he needs to play well. Otherwise, they would make the change going into the bye week, but they're not going to make the change here. I mean, I'm not buying Dirk Cutter's Jedi mind trick. Fitzpatrick starting on Sunday.
Ross Tucker, Princeton grad, showing his Ivy League bias there. Ross, we're debating before the show, is this September swoon for the Patriots the real thing, or is it just another case of Belichick figuring out his team?
I'm going to say it's just another case of Belichick figuring out his team until it really happens, because I think 3 out of the last 8 years have been like, this could be real this time, and you're always wrong. Like, saying that the Patriots dynasty's over, or saying that it's real, or even just picking the Patriots to lose, that is not a good bet over time. You're going to lose and be wrong a lot more than you're right and win. So I think they'll figure it out. I think they beat the Dolphins. I just can't imagine the Dolphins beating them to go up 3 games in the AFC East in Foxborough. I mean, I don't see that happening. I think the Patriots figure it out this week. Then they get Edelman back. They probably get Josh Gordon going just enough that he can actually take the top off the defense, give him somebody that can draw some type of double coverage, which is really all they need so that 7 dudes can't cover Gronk every play.
Ross, we missed you today, buddy. Thanks for helping us out. Talk to you soon.
You guys are doing great. It's really weird to see you guys in the different chairs, especially Fritzy.
Ross, I got one quick question before we let you go. Which bandwagon is safer to jump on, Chiefs or Rams?
Rams. Chiefs defense is terrible. Rams.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.